Hey guys, how you doing? I've had quite a few comments recently asking me about the Swoop. Have I still got it? What's going on with it? Hasn't been any videos since La Rioja. Well, I do still have it, as you can see behind me there. And today I'm out on the first ride since having it fixed. Well, I say fixed. There was something wrong with it from the very beginning and I couldn't put my finger on it. It just didn't feel right. I was getting thrown off, I was getting bucked about. I just thought that was because I wasn't able to mold or adapt to the bike, because I thought it, because it was so slack, I wasn't used to it, because of the Bronson, not putting enough weight on the front. Anyway, so I got fed up in the end and I just left it there. So all the videos I did with my trail rider, you can see those, I'll leave a link up here. I did on the Bronson and I absolutely love that bike, I love it. But this was supposed to be the counterpoint to the Bronson, it's supposed to be something for when it gets really rough and really nasty. So what I did was I took it along to a local RockShox dealer, distributor, technician even, and he took one look at it and said, yep, this isn't right. So basically it turns out that it had come virtually dry of oil and it had been poorly set up, both the fork and the shock, from the factory. So, it was kind of quality control issues, probably the fact that it had been sitting around for a long time before it even got out the front door. I guess these things happen, but it would have been nice to have, had the bike in the condition I was hoping it would have arrived in. So I'm going to be out on my local trails today, which means I'm going to be well overbiked, but at least it'll serve as a reference point for me to see how it feels now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a ride around some of the local descents. Then at the end, I'll come back and give you my overall thoughts and impressions now on how the bike should have been when it first arrived. And hopefully you'll see this in a lot more videos now in the future. So I actually got the bike sorted just before Christmas, just after Andrew from a trail rider went, but I haven't been out at all. I've ridden once since Christmas, what with Andrew going and Jorge not riding at the moment. Well, I've gotten a bit lazy, I guess. One thing to note on the Swoop, the geometry figures can actually be quite confusing because it's an incredibly slack bike. I've currently got it in the middle setting, which I believe is at 65.1 degrees. I did have it on the bike park setting earlier, which is 64.8 I think, but I've moved it up just to check it out. It's a surprisingly good climber. I had 192 kilometers on the bike before I decided I had enough and had to get the suspension sorted. And of the few climbs I did in that time, I actually set personal records on a few of them. Now that may well be to do with the fact that it was essentially like riding a hardtail, but it's fair to say this bike climbs very well. Okay, so I'm at the top of the first descent on my completely overbiked session for today. I'm actually a little worried that it's still going to bounce me over things, or deflect off things rather, and absorb them. Oh man, I forget just how agile this bike is. It's incredibly deceptive. I mean, bearing in mind my main bike is a Bronson, 2017 Bronson, which a lot of people refer to as essentially a BMX. Not that I have any BMX skills, but off camber, it's just surprising how nimble this bike is. It wants to be whipped around and it wants to actually jump. Well, already I'm feeling a lot more confident here. So this dirt track going down here has nothing technical about it whatsoever, but the reason I want to try it out here and record this and show you is because it gets very big and very loose right about now, and I want to see just how the suspension goes with this, and if I can feel that head angle coming into play. Yep, not too bad. And it's frozen over here again. Ooh, far more reactive now, the bike. Oh, so hop over that. So don't forget, at the end of the video, I'll give a rundown on my thoughts and feelings of the bike as a whole. And then in a couple of months, I'll do a full-on review of how the bike's doing. Because let's face it, if the bike is knackered in a couple of months, then it's not worth the investment. Here we go. Trying to get through here with my enormous 800mm bars. Just about. Didn't feel too bad, although I did feel a bit of a judder there on that compression after that roll off. Not sure what that was about. Got a bit of a sharp climb up here now. Not too technical, but technical enough. Let's see how it does. Okay. The difference in weight between this and the Bronson is substantial. I think the Swoop is over a kilo lighter. So granted, my Bronson has been considerably beefed up over the last year and a half, but still, you know, it's the top of the range, top of the end carbon, CC carbon, and this still kicks his ass. Okay, so that didn't feel anywhere near as smooth as it should have. Now I've done that loads of times on the Bronson and other bikes, and I could feel that front fork hanging up in that compression there at the end, and that is not a place that you want to get your fork hung up at all. Heading into another descent now. This one's got lots of very loose corners. Almost lost the front end then. Oh man, this bike actually loves to be in the air. Who'd have thought it? Oh, did lose the front end then. I'm definitely going to have to get used to putting more weight over the front. It's already an issue for me on most bikes. I tend to lean back, which is a terrible habit. So it starts to get a little more enduro-like here, shall we say. Plenty of rocks. Only a very short section though. Oh. Well, that didn't feel too bad. Not too bad at all. Another run. Feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good. The agility of the bike keeps catching me out completely. It's so much less effort to get up in the air than the Bronson is, and that just amazes me. The last part of this descent, really fast and flowy. Oh. Ooh. So I was told, because one of the complaints I had about the fork as well was that I was getting a lot of noise from the air. I know that there's always a bit of suction, but it was excessive, or in my opinion it was anyway. But I was told that on the lyrics that it is usual for them to actually make more noise than, say, a pike. So, and I did just start to notice it making more noise again there as I was going faster and the compressions were getting slightly bigger, but it's definitely feeling good. Right, so I've just got back from the ride, and obviously the bike feels 1,000 times better than it did. How could it not? There are definitely a few things. I mean, it surprised me in a lot of ways. Like I said, it feels strangely more agile than the Bronson, which doesn't seem to make much sense. Although it is, I think it's over 1 kilo lighter. And if you look at the actual framing, you'll see it's actually very, very, very narrow. And I guess that explains a lot of it. But it leaves me wondering about the overall strength in the long run. But that's something I'll have to see. But yeah, so let me give my feedback. So the bike obviously feels a lot better now. It feels good, it feels fast, it feels surprisingly agile, and it climbs very well. The things that are concerning me about the bike are the overall build quality. It was a cheap bike, right? So it's €2,500, and I actually got it for less than that. It's probably around about half the price of the Bronson. I built that up from scratch to my own spec. So it's not really fair to compare it to a high-end bike like that, but you know, those are the sort of comparisons I'm going to have to make, because that's what I've grown accustomed to. And so the suspension, both fork and shock, came poorly set up, no oil, dry. That's a poor thing to happen, but I guess that can happen. So bearing in mind, today, before I took the bike out, it had 192 kilometers on it, which I guess is about 140 miles, maybe something like that. Not a lot. So we've got the issue of the suspension, the wheel, the back wheel,